You are now tuned into Flippin the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 129 of Flippin the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Morgan Burkett, and today we have a special guest joining us once again, Mr. Briggsy Don't Give a Fuck himself, Troy.
What's up, Brian? How you doing, Morgan?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, I know it's still months away, but when schedules get released, like it feels closer. So like it feels like football's close, and then it gets into May and June, and then I mean, we all know what happens.
I mean, aren't you excited though? Because this is different. This is completely different. This is not like, last year's team. No, this is AJ Brown in prime time. Like Eagles actually have prime time games. Oh yeah, completely different. Yeah. As you guys remember, I mean, Troy's been on the show a couple of times, and Troy is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and his native team did select Kenny Pickett, former Eagles great.
You gonna do this
Morgan great as well.
Can we get to like week 9, and then we can go into that? Like, we gotta do this to you now. Oh man.
So, if you guys follow the show a lot, then you know I'm very biased, and I would say Eagles are probably going undefeated for the whole season. While Morgan tries to keep me level-headed, and Morgan kind of say like, no, they're gonna lose this game. No, they're gonna lose that game. So we brought Troy in to kind of be a mediator, to kind of even out the sides. But yeah, shout out to everybody that's joining us on the podcast right now. The return of Ben. We have James on, Marquise. So yeah, let's get started, right? I mean, how you been, Morgan? It's been a couple of weeks.
We saw each other last week, I think. It's just because we didn't do Tuesday. It's Thursday. It's a weird feeling. Yeah, we had a pod last week. It was right after the draft.
Did we? Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like it's been forever. We didn't do Tuesday, man.
It does.
We were talking about the draft last week. This is what I mean. It's like football's happening around this time, and it makes me feel like it's close. It's just like I don't know.
Just a throw
April
off.
Blue balls is just like you're getting excited, and then it's just like it's not actually for a couple months.
But it's major blue balls. Let's call it what it is. And Troy,
I wouldn't say it that way. I was thinking because Morgan hit it on the head. This is the coin toss. Like you come out for the game, and the captains go out. They flip the coin toss. At this point, it's like you're ready to rock. Like
Well, I mean, Eagles fans are ready to rock at this point. I mean, we had a stellar offseason so far, except for cornerback and safety, but N'Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgensen.
This was a setup from the start. I just realized what you did. So what you guys did was you drafted half my college, and then brought me on the show to talk about how well your draft was, knowing that my Steelers played. This is
So funny thing is, I called Troy today, and I told him I mistakenly called him because I meant to text my wife instead. Don't know how the two intertwined, but I was like, you know what? Come on pod today. Let's talk. But
I mean, you got one Georgia guy, right? Yeah.
Oh, we did. Yeah, Pickens. Yeah.
Yeah, you got Pickens.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not mad at grabbing George Pickens in the second round. I will get into this much later. I felt like the draft strategy that the Steelers should have had was anything but logical. It was all fan service. They listened to too many of us, and that's not what you get paid to do. And this was easy, not to place blame on Kevin Colbert, who's done a great job for the better part of 25 years. But you were on your way out, and you decided to just do what the fans wanted, and that didn't have to go that way. But we'll get there when we naturally get there. This is about the Eagles.
Yeah. I mean, and similar to how you're talking about how the Steelers had an abnormal draft. I mean, in a way, so did the Eagles. They actually made the right choices. They didn't reach for any players.
Baby.
Yeah, I feel like there's been so many years where the right player is just sitting there and the Eagles pass him up, but they didn't do that this year. It feels like Howie's turned a corner, man. I kind of want to give the guy a hug.
I think you feel that way because you get to see what happened after each pick, right? In the moment, in the war room, you're looking at all of the information you have on a particular player, every piece of film that you reviewed, every conversation you had with him, and there has to be something that you weigh your decision on. I was the last time I was on the show, I did a lot of defending of Carson Wentz. A little bit of a foot in my mouth considering how he ended last season, but the quarterback they had throughout the first, 2/3 of the season was the guy I was
Right.
defending. And it's so easy as a fan for all of us to sit back and say, but you passed on this guy. At that particular point in time, that guy didn't look as good as this guy. It's the same thing as you being in the grocery store saying, I want to try mayo chup, but I don't know if I want Heinz or whoever makes a mayo chup. One of these are
Right.
going to suck, and one's going to be, I can live with it. It's much harder. It's easier for fans to take it out on the teams in retrospect than in real life, which is why I'm containing my disappointment with what my Steelers did.
Yeah.
Well, why you contain that? I'm tired of Morgan containing the schedule. There we go, baby. There we go. Look at that beauty. Why are we having a podcast about this? This is 17-0. That's it.
You think so?
That's
It's not a
17-0.
loss on the schedule.
Not a loss.
I mean, I feel like
they're even going to win on the bye week. Let's do 18-0.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
I feel like see, this is why you're here, Troy. You're finding out already, because I'm not. Talking about them. But I feel like the schedule didn't really reveal anything. We knew that they were going to have an easy strength of schedule. I think Cowboys and one other team are ahead of them. In general, the NFC East got a fairly easy schedule. Commanders, yeah.
It's
so
Commanders,
NFC
Cowboys,
East in general,
Eagles, and Giants.
I mean, we match up with the AFC South, and we match up with the NFC North. So you have to play the Packers. You got to play the Titans. You got to play the Cardinals. Maybe the Steelers, maybe the Vikings give you a bit of hardship, but really it's just, it really just highlights the division games and how important those are going to be for the Eagles this year. Because I don't really see any tough stretches, but I mean, we're going to get into game by game. So
I think that the toughest stretch that I see right now is probably week 12 through 14. Actually, I'd even include 15. We know that the NFC North may not produce 2 playoff berths, but they will produce black and blue football, right? So you're going to have to go, you'll be home against Green Bay, it appears. You'll have Tennessee come in. You got to go away to your rival, to the Giants, and then go back into Chicago, only to face another division opponent that's probably going to be your only real competition in the division in week 16, right? And who knows what we'll see from the Saints in week 17, because we don't know what Jameis will be, and we have no idea how the rest of that.
You know better than to mention Jameis Winston on this podcast. We've discussed Jameis Winston multiple times off the podcast.
I get it, but you can't deny his last full season starting.
It ain't
5,000 yards, 33 touchdowns. Everybody's mad at 30 interceptions. Relax. Like that's a lot of production for 30 mistakes. Okay?
That's counterproduction.
I get it, but that's your stretch, Morgan, because Brian's gonna try to talk us into 17-0. I mean, Brian's gonna talk us into 17-0. That's not gonna happen. You got to see what happens.
I would even add week 11 into that. Just, the familiarity with the coaching staff, Frank Reich, they have Matt Ryan, who knows what he's going to bring to the table, and you're in Indy. I mean, fortunately, most of the tough games you're at home for, which is very fortunate. But yeah, I mean, Brian, unless you got any initial comments, I feel like we just dive in. Week 1.
I got one comment, and I feel like everybody's overlooking this, and I'm echoing on somebody's end. I don't know whose, but week 3 and week 4 and week 5 are being heavily ignored. Week 3 that we face Carson Wentz, we go to Washington. Week 4 we host Doug Peterson. Week 5 we face Zach Ertz in Arizona. That's a little bit of an emotional stretch.
What you saying? I don't think Zach Ertz is going to bring his.
It's a small part, but it's an emotional stretch if you actually think about it. The Eagles, man. I mean,
they played him last year, did they not? Or played? He wasn't playing.
No,
but I thought no.
I don't think they played the Cardinals last year.
No, they didn't.
It was the year before.
No, yeah, true.
All right, so let's dive into it then. You want to go week by week?
Yeah, might as well. I mean,
All right.
yeah, Lions. I think that this, like, on paper, should be an easy win. But I think that week 1 is actually it's a good test. It's not a great team, but it's a team on the come up. We've seen their offense put up 40 points against some decent teams. And then they added a defensive stud. The second pick in the draft. That could cause problems, right? If he's the game wrecker that we know he can be immediately. And I know the Eagles have some really good tackles, but still, whatever damage he can cause on the defensive end is going to slow this offense, and he should be able to somewhat contain Jalen Hurts' running ability, right? He's not the fastest guy, but he's got a motor. And Aiden Hutchinson, he will cause problems. He's one of those players. So I still think this is a win, but I think that the Lions are one of those teams where they might surprise you, and this might be one of those games that's a lot closer than it should be. And it's in Detroit, right? So you're starting off on the road. And then you got a long week to the next week. But I think the Lions might surprise people, and I think it might be a closer and a higher scoring game than a lot of people think. The Eagles defense is still going to be getting their bearings, right? They added a lot of players. So I just feel like week 1, don't put it in pen just yet, but I still think it's a win.
So I agree with that, but I agree with it for the opposite reason. Like you mentioned, the Eagles defense is still getting their feet underneath them. We have a lot of youth at cornerback. We have a lot of youth at safety as well. Jared Goff, he's Jared Goff, but he's not a scrub. The guy can still pass. We've seen teams torch the Eagles defense last season. I mean, we had quarterbacks almost throw for almost 90% completion percentage in a game, and it's just still the same defense within the secondary. I mean, we didn't add nobody. Literally, it's still the same defense. We just lost Rodney McLeod, and we lost Steven Nelson. So unless the Eagles pull off, a signing with James Bradbury, or they pull off, a safety move for a trade like with Chuck Clark or whatever case may be, this secondary is my biggest fear heading into week 1, honestly. Because listen, even if it's garbage time, like Jared Goff could still sling it, not to the point where he's like, he's like Kirk Cousins. You're literally facing Kirk Cousins back to back. He could sling it. He's gonna make it when he can. If he makes a mistake, great. But I don't think we have the players outside of Slay that can counter these mistakes.
I'd argue he's a step above Kirk Cousins. I mean, I believe Kirk Cousins'
Guarantee money
career
doesn't say so.
Kirk Cousins' career record is what, 59-2, and Kirk Cousins never sniffed the big game. At least Jared got him there, or got there with them. However you want to process that. I will take one step back before. I don't even know if I'm allowed to weigh in on whether I think they'll win or lose, but before I get there, I just want to take one step back. Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not sure that any rookie of any talent level. I don't know if it's me echoing. I hope it's not. I got earbuds in. Is going to wreck a game 1 as a rookie, right? He does have a high motor. You could definitely think Bosa, but I think far less tools than the Bosa brothers, like natural tools.
Right.
So I don't know that he is going to have that much of an impact. Mark him up for 1 sack, maybe because Jalen forgets that he's there, right, as a rookie. He may get him. I don't see any way that the Eagles don't take this game. I just don't think it's by more than 2 points. I would literally bet this game, Eagles minus 1.5, not a single point more, not even a half point more. Dan Campbell brings those boys to play, and we saw it all last year. He does bring them to play.
I don't disagree at all. And then we have Monday Night Football. Mr. Kirk Cousins, who has yet to win on Monday Night Football against the Eagles, who Eagle fans were infatuated with Justin Jefferson. We were. We still have Jalen Reagor. But something great happened on draft night. Something that will go down in the history of my life. We traded for A.J. freaking Brown and extended him for 4 more years. So we don't care about Justin Jefferson right now, okay? Jalen Reagor can ride the pine for all I care. We got freaking A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That's it. That's my rant. But yeah, week 2. What are you thinking, Morgan?
Yeah, I feel like this is another one of those games. I think the entire season, as we go through it, are going to be highlighted by these games where for a lot of Eagles fans, they should be wins. But I think obviously the division games are always important. And then the conference games as well. This is a team that you might end up in a wild card race with potentially. Who knows what the Minnesota Vikings are? If Dalvin Cook can stay healthy, they can always squeeze in there. And so I think that this is one of those games where it's early in the season, but it's already one of those matchups where you really have to win. You really have to come out swinging on Monday Night Football. I think this is one of those games where you look back on, and it could be one of those defining games of the season where it's like we just needed one more win, and that could have been the Viking game in week 2. Just because I think that the way that this season is kind of shaped, there's not that run. Like last year we saw it was the first 5 or 6 games. They were really tough teams, and after you get through that, there's a lot of, should be wins. You had like maybe the Chargers and stuff like that there that you weren't sure about. But I think this game is really characterized by like specific games kind of dotted throughout the schedule. And I think that this is one of those. I think that the Vikings match up pretty well. They always come to play, and I feel like they're a more not fine-tuned, but like they have more playing time together, right? The Eagles are still going to be figuring out if they go into Detroit, get battered up a bit, even if it is a win. You have to welcome the Vikings at home, and they had trouble at home early on in the season last year. And so I still think this is a win, but I think this is one of those games where if you lose this game early on in the season, it's going to be really hard to win your division.
What do you think, Troy?
I don't know, man. This one's a little harder for me because I never trusted your defense. I still don't believe that I want to trust the Eagle defense. I was actually, while you guys were talking, I was actually number diving here, trying to figure out if I could find a particular stat that would teeter the scales for me here.
In favor of the defense or in favor of the opposing team?
That's just the thing. I was looking for anything, and for the way the statistics lined up for the Eagles as a team defense, the numbers are extremely middle of the road, right? No matter who you try to like put them up against or what you want to set as the barometer. So I guess the thing that I'm going to probably lean on is Jalen Hurts. I think that Jalen Hurts hasn't been given a fair enough shake. This is a guy here, and I just told you I was just looking at the numbers. He played 15 games last year. 61% of his passes completed. 3,144 yards is very middle of the road, but that's not bad when your touchdown percentage is 327. I think I would lean towards Jalen Hurts making the play that wins this game. I would probably go Eagles, and I'd actually do this one somewhere around 3.5 points on that game. I don't. Kirk Cousins isn't a big moment quarterback. He has moments type quarterback. Like he doesn't put the team on his back when they have to have it. He just makes the one that's really exciting for SportsCenter for the week. That's about it. I can't see Minnesota stealing this one. No.
So here's what's gonna happen. The Eagles gonna take Detroit. Right? They're gonna go into week 2, and people are gonna be like, yeah, they beat Detroit. Then Minnesota comes to Philly, home opener, very rowdy. I don't think we've hosted Minnesota in Philly since the NFC Championship game, right?
Ooh.
When they did a little skull chant on Rocky Steps, and then they got rocked. This is gonna be a weird early statement game, and the reason I say early statement game is I personally feel like the Eagles won't come out of the gate hot in week 1. I think they might struggle a bit on defense and on offense.
Okay.
So then you're going to hear the media talk about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert not getting involved, Miles Sanders not running enough, this and third. What are they doing? They're pass heavy, blah, blah, blah. I think week 2 is going to be a statement game where they put their big boy pants on, and then either A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith completely goes off. I think Jalen Hurts that shows more that he's more of a pocket passer this season. He's not the guy running scared all day long. And I think they make noise on Monday Night Football. Because, if you win this game, you're 2-0, you beat Detroit. You're heading into a stretch where it's like, you're facing teams that can turn it up on you and teams that can just fall flat on their face over the next almost like 4 weeks, even 5 weeks if you count Pittsburgh. So to me, I feel like early on, this is a statement game where it's like, okay, like we're legit, like no BS. We beat bad teams last year. We lost to the good teams, but this is a serious game where we're taking it serious. Like, we show you guys we can do it all. We're a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like they're gonna come more prepared for games like these this season. Yeah. So moving on to the next week, we got Washington. I mean, when we had Sean Bradley on the podcast, you know how this team feels about Carson Wentz and Washington.
Blood in
They're
the
going
water.
to Washington. The game that I remember in Washington early when a quarterback switched teams was when Donovan
McNabb,
McNabb,
Monday Night Football, Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson,
first
playing
play
Madden.
of the game. I just feel like it's gonna be one of those games, man. Like Washington in general, I do think is going to be underrated coming into the season. I think their defense kind of clicks back into what they had going on the year before. I don't know if they're going to be the same defense they were 2 years ago, but I think they will be a better team this year. But I just think there's way too much like animosity and payback on the line. I think the Eagles this is the game where a couple of the questions they had maybe against the Lions or the Vikings. I think that everything kind of just goes their way, and this is a game where I feel like they just come out swinging. I just like I know that the Redskins have, my bad, the Commanders.
You're gonna get fined for saying that, okay?
Thanks $5
We're getting fined.
Yeah. Tough. Yeah. So, but I know they've tried to kind of overhaul that offense and find some kind of identity there, but I mean, it's Carson Wentz, and it's not the Carson Wentz we saw for a lot of times in Philly. I do think Troy made a good point. He can be that guy for spurts in the season, but I just feel like you put Slay on Terry McLaurin, and you make Jahan Dotson prove it, and he's going to be mostly matched up against Avonte Maddox. I like that matchup. I just feel like the Eagles are going to be too much for Washington.
Okay. I think you made a great point, and you kind of silenced me a little bit because you went right back into the previous point that I made, and you further elaborated exactly what I would have said. Right. So we agree on what Carson can do. However, I have a little bit of a just a little something, just a little sauce, right? A little salsa on it, because Washington coming with them dogs. Like they come in with them dogs. And where we saw Jalen Hurts be at his worst was when he had to actually run and make a decision. Throwing on the run is easy for him, but not throwing to the wrong spot on the run is a problem. So here comes Washington, first division game, riding high off 2-0 start, and you got Chase Young, Deron Payne, John Allen, Montez Sweat, Cole Holcomb is coming in. David Mayo's coming in, I believe, right? He's still there, I think, right? And about the only weakness on that Washington team might be the DBs, and I'm not even sure that I'm willing to say that. Like, it's not that they
have Kendall Fuller still, right?
Yes, they do. That's why I said I'm not sure I'm actually willing to say that. This is where it gets tough. This is where making the right pre-snap read and decision is going to be paramount, because this is the defense that's going to come at you for 4 quarters. As much as I like Jalen Hurts, this is a little bit more what I meant when I said I don't feel like he's gotten a fair shake. I need to see him win this game for me to truly believe, and I don't think he will. In all honesty, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with Washington here, and because it's a divisional game, every divisional game is under 3 points. So give me what, 2.5 maybe. I'm more comfortable with 2 actually.
Is it weird?
First loss of the season.
Is it weird that I don't disagree at all? Because the moment that before you even mentioned anything, I was already thinking about what Morgan was saying. Pretty much the Eagles are gonna be out for blood because it's Carson. Who else is gonna be a little bit emotional about this game? There's one player that's gonna be in my opinion could possibly be out of pocket, out of character. The guy who backed up Carson.
Oh,
remember the whole thing where why are you trading Carson? Jalen Hurts can't start. Till this day, Jalen Hurts is not a starter. Jalen Hurts is this. Jalen Hurts is that. That's still the argument in Philly, no matter what. Doesn't matter, if you root for the team or not. That's the argument.
It is.
And then the defensive line, I agree. They're definitely
some dogs.
Yeah, they're a strong force for sure. But I'm not too worried about them affecting Jalen so much. It's not like they're facing Tampa. You get me? Like they're not. when I say it's like they're facing Tampa, when you're facing Tampa, you're facing the identity of the defensive coordinator. Why is his name escaping me right now? Todd Bowles.
Wolves, yeah.
And Bowles is to me is one of the better defensive coordinators in the league. He's a great defensive mind. I feel like Washington is not there, but I feel like emotions are gonna be riding extremely high in this game, and it's weary enough to to make me say like, okay, this is that iffy game because you have this game. And then you have next week, which I mentioned before the podcast. I mean, on the before we started everything, you have next week. You're hosting the Jaguars. You're hosting Doug Peterson. So it's like it's a 2-week span of emotions riding high in Philly, and it's like this is the Jalen Hurts game. If you want to make a point, like the issue is he's gonna want to make a point. I'm the starter. This is my team. I'm the starting quarterback. He said it. This is my opportunity. This is my team. They trust me. This is that moment where you make that point. Like, yeah, you guys made the right decision in trading away Carson Wentz. Now, do you show up in the lights or do you back down in the lights? That's the biggest question.
He ain't gonna back down.
No, I'm not saying he's gonna back down, but my thing is like, do you come out of character?
Yes,
like you have that better team than Carson ever had. I don't care what anybody said. Carson, he did have Alshon, he did have Torrey, but AJ Brown, Devontae Smith are far potentials in my opinion is far beyond those two.
But receivers. Can you guys block though? Like,
we have one of the better offensive lines in the league. That's still, that's still a thing. We could definitely do that. I mean, that's why we had the number 1 rushing team in the league last year.
This to me, this is going to be the same kind of game that when Vic was playing. Man, it's just gonna be early. It's gonna be often. Like this defense and the pass rush for the Eagles, like they have this circled. In the first 5 weeks, this is the game that got circled. They got Washington in Washington. No one wants to go to Washington. No one likes to play in Washington. And
it's not safe over there. People falling off the stands.
And the Commanders have, Commander Carson, and he's wearing his suit and stuff like that. Man, like they're gonna eat him up. It's just gonna be a terrible day for him. And then on the offense, like I get that Washington's gonna be better. They absolutely will. They're not the defense they showed last year. If anything, they're more the team they showed 2 years ago when they were top 5 in like almost every category. They are that defense. But you have to contain AJ Brown. You have to contain Devontae Smith. You have to contain a combination of the man Greg Ward, but more importantly,
stop that nonsense.
Zach Pascal can contain.
He's
Dallas
making
Goddard,
a point though.
Yeah,
and Miles Sanders. So I feel like it's going to be one of those games where it might not be 50-20, but the Eagles are going to find a way to put up 20 something points, and then the defense is just gonna tear Carson Wentz to shreds, man. He might get some redemption week 10, but week 3, man, they got this circled. That's what I feel like.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm taking the under on your score there. He said the Eagles gonna put up 20, which means you could bank on Washington getting at least 10. I'm definitely going under 30, bro. Like I don't think that's going. It's too early in the season to really go over 30. Not with these two types of teams.
This is definitely the Hurts game. Week 4 though is the Nick Sirianni game. And to me, like that's gonna be a fun game. Just so to see Doug Peterson back in Philly in the sidelines. There's not a chance in hell I see them losing this game, especially after the great offseason that Jaguars had, which not so great because they spent a lot of friggin' money. But I still think I personally think like not much to talk about with the Jaguars. I think it's written in stone. I think Philly takes this, especially at home. It's weird. You're going from Jalen Hurts game, as loud as motorcycle passes by. You're going from the Jalen Hurts game to the next Sirianni game, and to me, like these are again week 2 statement game. Week 3, we're saying it's the Jalen Hurts game. Show up in the lights. Week 4, Nick Sirianni has to show why he's better than Doug Peterson. I don't see them losing this game, but still.
Troy?
There's no way. If Philly loses this game, you might as well just pack up the season. I'm just always hesitant to outright say that a team is going to lose. So long as we don't get the Jaguars that Carson got in week 17, in week 18 last season, this is I don't have a lot to say about this one. This can't be Jacksonville's week. Like I can't believe that anybody in forget Philadelphia. I don't think us in Pittsburgh are trying to believe that our state counterparts would lose to Jacksonville at home in week 4. So like that's all I really got. What are we really talking about here?
Yeah, I agree. Keep it short and sweet. I have nothing against Doug Peterson, but it's going to take more than an off season. He might get there, and then Trevor Lawrence as well. Like it's if this week was week 14 of next season, it might be a different story. But this should be a cakewalk. For some reason, the Eagles make these games close early on and then kind of blow them open late. So you might see that, but like still, this should be a win.
Okay. Take that.
But I like this next week matchup, and I think this for me is where we start to see the fatigue of all those emotional matchups. I think Lions could give you more than you were asking for. Vikings are going to be a tough test Monday Night Football under the lights. Washington then is emotional. Jacksonville's emotional, and I just feel like the Cardinals matchup in Arizona is one of those where they kind of hit that wall a bit. They run out of juice and stuff like that. This is a team that's going to make you put up points against them, right? Like that's how Cardinals are going to beat you. If you can hold the Cardinals under 30 points, you have a really good chance. But this is one of those teams where I think you start to see the fatigue a bit. The defense again coming off an emotional week 3 probably, and then probably an easy game in week 4, but still there's some emotions there. So I think that this one is one of those where you might see the Eagles lose a game they probably should have made more competitive. The Cardinals are not a bad team. I don't know, they kind of fell apart late in the year last season, but we forget just how good this team can be.
And they traded for Hollywood Brown.
Exactly. So they have a lot of weapons. They're just going to make you score enough points, and I don't think that the Eagles offense is made to put up 40 all the time, right? Like that's just not how they're built. They're built on clock control, controlling the clock, and Arizona's just going to bomb it. And they're going to be without.
That's why you signed James Bradbury as CB2.
They're going to be without Hopkins.
Yeah, he's been suspended for popping some steroids.
So you might get lucky there. He's back the week after. How long? He got 16?
He's out for 6 weeks, so he's back week 7.
Yeah, so you got lucky there, but I think this is one of those trap games where you're feeling good about not playing Hopkins, but just a lot of emotional weeks in a row. And I feel like it's close, but I feel like the Eagles might this will be their first loss.
What are you thinking,
Troy? I'm thinking a lot of what Morgan said is absolutely correct. Being that this game is so early in the season, the question becomes where is Kyler Murray and what's happening with that? Is he doing the Kyrie Irving where it's like, oh, I'm here, but my rib hurts, so I can't play? Because that changes a lot of things, though. This team was 5-2 in their last 7 games in this past season, and the interesting part is, as Morgan pretty much touched on, you saw the points like start to nosedive, right? And then they started to come back up, and they were, a team scoring over 23 for like 4 consecutive weeks, and they can only put up 12 against Detroit, and then 16 against Indianapolis, right? They get back to 25 against Dallas, but we know why, because it's Dallas, right? and then they still managed to lose 30-38 to the Seahawks to finish the season, and then get absolutely mollywopped by the eventual champs in the first, playoff game that they play in wild card weekend. And this is still very early in a situation that's still very delicate with your franchise quarterback and a coach that I personally don't even believe in. Not to take up too much time, I'll just say this: Cliff Kingsbury coached at Texas Tech when Texas Tech had Michael Jordan of football. And you didn't even finish above 500. You got an NFL job out of it. I don't believe in the coach. I don't believe that the quarterback situation is taken care of, and I don't believe they had enough time to really recover from what happened to them last year. Give me the Eagles +5 here. I would take 5 here. I'm sorry, Eagles -5. I said it wrong. -5.
Brian?
I'm looking at the schedule.
contemplation, my man.
Because I like I like storytelling. I like I like what a schedule could tell you. Schedules can really tell you a big story, and to kind of like talk about stories. When 2017 happened, obviously like you guys know, my daughter was born in Philly. So I was in the pro shop almost like the Eagles pro shop almost like every other week because we were out there for almost like 6 months. Till this day, huh?
Fanatic.
No, super fanatic. But my wife yelled at me so many times about it. They gave out the free schedules, and I had it on my keychain. And if I look at it till this day, it tells a story. It tells something deep, something wild. And to me, like this is telling me, like okay, week 1 through week 4, like the Eagles are they start off slow, then they start picking up steam. They're tired now after a battle in week 3. Week 4 comes along, they get an easy kind of game, just like facing the Jets. But week 5 is like it's too much for them to risk losing this game because you have a bye week in 2 weeks. You have the Cowboys next week on is it Sunday Night Football? Yeah, Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
It's not on Fox, but that's what confused me.
Last minute, man.
Yeah, last minute changes. They have Sunday Night Football in week 6, so I feel like week 5 has got to be such a big game for Philly. Like this first half of the schedule, it's about proving a point. It's about proving you belong. Point blank. Like people didn't feel like they belonged last year, even though they made the playoffs because they went on a string of winning against bad teams. Now you got to prove like, hey, I belong in the dance. And week 5 is the way you prove I belong in the dance. Kyler Murray versus Jalen Hurts, running quarterback versus running quarterback. Advantage though. Again, Philly has a possible tandem on offense that can really break out. I think I'm echoing on your end, Morgan. So they have a big tandem that could really break out in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, who I feel like complement each other so freaking well. Then you have Dallas Goedert, who nobody's talking about. You have the speedster and Quez Watkins. Like this is a fully loaded offense that if Jalen Hurts can hit on the money this season, they can make statements. And this week 5 is a way to make statement, especially in Arizona where the weather's gonna be perfectly fine. Like this is the game where you guys, you don't trip over your foot. You have to play mistake-free football and get the ball moving, especially when entering week 6. I'm not gonna say whether to take this game or not.
Yeah, I mean this is probably outside of Green Bay and the Titans, the Cowboys will be the toughest matchup all season, both games. So I'm interested to hear your Troy's thoughts on this one. I think that we might be jaded. We hate losing the Cowboys, Brian. Obviously, we want to see them win every time, but I think I know what's coming.
But they're missing the Eagles killer. That's who Amari Cooper was. Yeah. That's exactly who he was.
They're gonna find another one. It's gonna be CeeDee Lamb this year, man. That guy's gonna go nuts.
I love CeeDee Lamb. You know I love CeeDee Lamb.
I'll tell you, Darius Slay ain't gonna run with CeeDee Lamb.
No, absolutely not. That's why they need a corner. Either one of these young guys to step up, which I'm hoping is Tay Godwin because I'm a big fan of his. Or you sign a veteran or trade for a veteran. You need somebody lining up with Darius Slay because Darius Slay is not getting younger and he can't take on all these guys by himself anymore. He did it last year though, but still, like you gotta. Did
you guys not have the cap space to run at Bradbury? Is that what that was?
No, he's still a free agent.
I know. So why are you not running at Bradbury?
We're hoping that the rumor is that they're being aggressive.
They are. Yeah, I think they are.
But I think Bradbury's gonna end up in Vegas.
The biggest failed to seal the deal when he was visiting out there. So it's
he
on me now.
Them already.
He wasn't he there Wednesday? I believe he's there Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, so they did fail. I
think he went, and I don't. If they didn't seal the deal at this point,
yeah, he's not signing.
No reason to look forward to it.
If I'm him, I want to play the Giants twice a year. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, so all you got to do is have enough cap money, and he's coming. Like, of course he would love to get that.
They spent $100 million on AJ Brown. They got it. There's no way you don't spend money on a CB2. There's no possible way. No excuse.
You gotta have it. The interesting part is a lot of times we don't talk about the fact that besides the salary cap, there's also a salary floor, which means you're paying a lot of guys a little more than you probably would to make sure that you meet the minimum. So it might not be there to sign Bradbury. But the question for me was, are they, making a run at them like you should be? I'm not understanding why the Steelers have it. But anyway, so I'm on Dallas here, right? Week 6 is my turn, or is it Morgan?
Nope, after you.
Oh, after me. Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna point out the obvious, right? This didn't go you guys' way either game last season, but it was bad. Like they scored like 92 points on you guys or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
However, I don't think that this coming season's Cowboys are going to be nearly as good as previous season Cowboys, who actually, in all honesty, were a bit of a disappointment to some regard. I actually last season picked the Cowboys to win the division, and I actually thought they would make it to the NFC Championship game. And then we just watched them. They hit their little stride like at the beginning of the season, and by the time they came back from their bye week, they were. And I think that that's going to keep going. So I think for first game, I think the Eagles hold serve at home. Give me one. I'll give the Eagles. I'll give the Cowboys 1 point, 1.5 point, 1 point. No, yeah, I'll take a 2 point victory for the Eagles. I didn't see that the Cowboys really built on anything that they had. Is really what I'm knocking, right? So we know what you had, and the Eagles have now taken not your best, but your best and second best punches, and then they went and retooled, and you did nothing because Jared Jones is the best GM who ain't the GM in the world. He's not improving the team. He hasn't been improving the team. He, given his position and picks, is how he keeps grabbing, the talent he's getting. Dak Prescott was not a steal. He went where he should have went. The Cowboys just had that pick, right? And then, he got a year to sit behind Romo and get ready. So you got what you got. Dak Prescott, I don't see him ever becoming a Hall of Famer, but he'll be a guy that'll make a couple Pro Bowls, right? You're not going to get better. Ezekiel Elliott's numbers have literally gone down. It's consecutive, the previous 5 consecutive seasons. I'm talking about overall touches, overall averages, overall yardage. I'm talking about pass and rush attempts. Everything's just dropping. The Jerry Jones completely decimated the best line I think I ever saw in the NFL when he first got Zeke and Dak there. They are all gone except one. I believe Zach Martin is the only one left. And so there's nothing to block there. And the defense with no linebackers. Yeah, they have worse linebackers than the Rams had. The Rams won the Super Bowl with those bad linebackers, right? What's here? What am I betting on with Dallas? Not being funny, I'm asking division rival fans because I've given my pick. So if you can sneak in there, tell me what reason would anybody bet on Dallas?
Didn't they sign your guy? Was it James Washington?
Probably Mike. James Washington. Really? What did James Washington do for Pittsburgh?
I was asking a question. Don't get
offended.
I'm
just saying. You said my guy. Like this wasn't. I'm pounding the ground. Why James Washington?
No, I'm subtracting and adding who they lost and who they added this offseason to see to kind of go off your point because I think they're the only team. And Morgan, correct if I'm wrong. They're the only team that didn't really take any steps in the right direction this offseason in the NFC East. They didn't really add much at all.
I mean, you could argue that all the teams, didn't. I mean, compared to the Eagles, right? None of the teams made those draft success. But I think
the Giants had a decent draft.
I think the Giants were winning the draft until the Jets got back in the first round. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean they had a couple good picks. Obviously, when you have two picks in the top 10, they're going to be good picks, and they didn't miss. They're some of their later picks. I remember, again, I don't know every single pick off the top of my head. They had that they picked a receiver later. Anyways, they picked
Wandale Robinson from Kentucky.
Yeah. So a decent draft. I think a lot of people like their draft. I know Wandale Robinson is one of those PFF guys that drafted. When I was watching film, I didn't. He's fast. They added another Kadarius Toney that they don't know how to use. So fantastic. It's gonna the Giants aren't gonna get there this year. They never were. If Daniel Jones figures it out somehow, it would be a miracle, right? It's just I don't. But I think with Dallas, there's a couple things that I still think they have. One, I think that Kellen Moore is a really underrated OC. I know he's had ups and downs, but he's fairly new to it. I do really like him. I think the matchup with him and Jonathan Gannon, I think he kind of has Jonathan Gannon's number, which scares me a bit. I mean, Troy mentioned the points they put up last year. That's no fluke. And they did lose Amari Cooper, and I think that they brought in Jalen Tolbert
and Cedric Wilson. Don't forget that. That's a pretty big loss.
Yeah, for sure. And then they bring in Jalen Tolbert, and I think like on paper you're looking at a rookie 3rd round pick to replace Amari Cooper doesn't make sense, but it's not going to be that way. It's going to be CeeDee Lamb taking those targets, and he just got that X factor, man. Like he's a guy that could be on a bad team. Like you put CeeDee Lamb on the Jaguars, and all of a sudden the Jaguars start winning games they shouldn't. Like he's just one of those players where he's going to make plays, he's going to make ridiculous catches, he's going to make people miss. So I think there's that X factor that Dallas has. And for some reason, that X factor, it comes and goes, but it seems to always be on against the Eagles. And so I just feel like Dallas, kind of has the Eagles number right now. I think that Dallas is looking at their schedule too, knowing that they have to win both of these games against the Eagles. So I think the Eagles kind of had this mindset where they're not going to take anyone lightly. I don't think Dallas cares. I think that Dallas is going, okay, week 6, we're planning for that one. I don't know. Like we've seen in the past, man, they're willing to overlook really opponents that they should be beating, and they don't care. They just want to beat the Eagles. So this is a really tough matchup on paper for the offense, or for the defense, sorry. And then on the offensive side of the ball, this is just going to be a matter of how good Jalen Hurts feels about getting the ball to AJ Brown. It's going to come down to a big play, right? And whether it's Devontae Smith or AJ Brown making that play, Jalen Hurts has to get the ball there. So I just feel like this one, if the Eagles are able to keep it close, I feel like at this point in the season, it's Dak Prescott's the better quarterback. So I think Dallas, squeezes this one out. It'll suck to be in Philly and lose that game, but I think they get their revenge in week 16.
I'm so tired of that notion. Dak Prescott's the better quarterback. Dak Prescott is the more experienced quarterback. He's been in the league for a longer period of time. And remember, when he came in the league, like he looked just as bad as Jalen looked in his first season. Everybody was saying it. Good. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He won offensive MVP, didn't he?
Yeah. He was Roy, wasn't he? He was the Roy, baby.
Yeah, but
I think
what I'm trying to say is
two.
No. I'm talking about year one. Year one, the optics on Dak was that he couldn't throw for anything. He couldn't be accurate.
Right, game manager, right?
Yeah, he's top game manager in the league.
I never understood why that was a bad thing.
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say with that too, because I don't say it's a bad thing either. But that was the notion. He just couldn't throw. What's the notion against Jalen Hurts right now? He can't throw. Until Dak got Amari Cooper is when people are like, okay, yeah, Dak is nasty. Dak is this. Dak is that. But it took him getting a legit number one wide receiver to make things happen, which weirdly the Eagles are following that same blueprint. So yeah, we know as of right now, Dak is the better quarterback in my opinion because he's the more experienced quarterback. He's been in the league longer, but we have yet to see Jalen Hurts with legit weapons on the outside. Devontae Smith was everything last year. Quez Watkins disappeared towards the middle and end of the season. Outside of that, it was nothing. Dallas Goedert, had his moments. Miles Sanders, I think he got injured at one point, and it started just going on and off with everything. So it's like, now you have that legit guy. You have that legit threat on the outside where a little creepy. You had that legit threat on the outside that can actually
Dak Prescott.
Yeah, apparently so. There ain't nobody walking through. Damn. You have AJ Brown now who can actually take, the number one corner and allow Devontae Smith to get freedom, allow Dallas to get freedom, allow Quez to get freedom, allow the run game to breathe a little bit. So, it just kills me that people are not seeing, hey, this is the way the Cowboys made Dak. Eagles are following the same footsteps.
Okay, so for the sake of time, because it kind of slipped away. Two Dallas matchups. I think they're gonna split. I think they lose the first, and then in week 16, when the season's on the line, I think they get them there. But Troy, are you saying the Eagles take both?
No, I think
16.
I think Dallas will come back and steal one. Yeah,
I think it's split too.
Yeah, it's a divisional thing. That's usually
Yeah.
So then quickly, bye, obviously not much to talk about here, but a early-ish bye. I think week 6 is usually the first bye, right? So they get the second earliest bye. Complete flip from last year when they had the last bye in the NFL. I think it's a good time for a bye, right? You just play Dallas, you get a week. Historically, Eagles don't come off their bye very well, but it's a good time. You get time to prepare for a Steelers team that who knows what they're going to look like come week 8. They might be firing on all cylinders. They might figure out that Kenny Pickett has a long way to go. So that's the matchup that, obviously Troy is probably most excited to talk about. But any thoughts on the bye? I think it comes at a good time. You want it a bit later in the season, but looking
I
at the
wish it was
schedule,
later.
I think
I hate early buys, but the early buy does help them, to get back on the horse. And week 8 through week 18, you're grinding. So it's all about, and you get that consistent factor, that momentum where it's like, if you're winning, you're winning, but if you're losing, you're gonna struggle for the rest of the season. Point blank, it's such a huge moment in the season.
I think the upside is the earlier buy. I'm not saying you want your buy to be week 6 or 7, but you definitely don't want your buy coming, I believe, in like week 10. Like you want to get a chance to get that roll going right into the playoffs. It's a decent buy to me. It's not the greatest, but I don't think it's that bad.
Well, do you want to kick us off on the next matchup?
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm gonna kick it
circles.
off just like this, right? My Steelers, my beloved Steelers, has a defense, I swear to you, that just knows how to get the ball and get a stop, right? We came off of 18 years of the same quarterback who could always make a play. And then we drafted last year a running back that by the time we got our offensive line right, showed exactly why he should have been drafted, right? 1,200 plus yards, right? And that's behind, I believe, offensive line that I think they used like 10 different starting rotations, right, throughout the season. When they finally got it right, he ran. My biggest problem was, why did we force Kenny Pickett into a Steeler jersey? It's not a disrespect to Kenny Pickett. To me, you got an aging Joe Hayden, an Aiden Cam Hayward. You got definitely depth issues with that offensive line. And next year, you'll have 7 quarterbacks who are going to come out next year better than Kenny Pickett will be next year, in my opinion. Keaton Slovis, CJ Stroud, DJ Ukulele. I am forgetting so many more because I'm trying to do this with the interest of time.
Bryce
right?
Young.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, so to me, the idea should have been strengthen the team, live and die with Mitch, right? We know what Mitch was supposed to be. We know what Mitch turned out to be in Chicago. We also saw a very different Mitch in Buffalo, right? Live and die with it. Because that worst case scenario, you get to pick earlier with this boatload of quarterbacks that we expect to be coming next year. So, in the interest of time, my Steelers will lose this game. They'll lose it by more than 3 because they're going to be trying to figure out which one of these quarterbacks work. And that's going to hurt because the defense is going to do a lot. They're going to give you trouble, right? They're going to force Jalen to make some mistakes. They'll probably turn you over a couple times. And then your defense is going to say, if we stop Najee Harris, we'll be fine. And that will always work in football at every level of every year we play the game. If you stop one aspect, you force the team to be one-dimensional, you got them. And that's what's going to happen to my team most of this season. It sucks to say it. This is why I'm here. Thank you guys for having me. I got to vent that out. But in all honesty, let's being a true football fan, I can't see that going any other way. That's going to be more than probably a 5 or 6 point win.
So what's going to happen is Eagles are going to come off this bye, right, to face Pittsburgh after a spectacular trade where the Pittsburgh Steelers traded Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Eagles for nothing. For a bag of beans and a sack of marbles, the Eagles are going to acquire Minkah Fitzpatrick, and it's going to be the Minkah revenge game. No, seriously, I don't see the Eagles losing this game just because it's the QB issue. The QB issue is huge. You have Chase Claypool. You have George Pickens. It's a team that's going to still kind of be finding their footing in the league at this point. But yeah, I don't see Philly losing this game.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think
so. Minkah is getting traded. You agree on that? That's what you mean.
I'll sign Minkah over if you send the Kobe Dean and Jordan Davis over. You can have Minkah.
There you go. I think this is the.
It's going to cost you a lot more than that.
This is the Javon Hargrave.
Yes, it is. Return tour or whatever.
Return,
yeah. Oh, revenge tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I talking about Kenny Pickett. I think that I see his limitations, but I do think that this is, he is a good fit for the Steelers down the road. I think that that's going to change their offense quite a bit. They're going to be a run first team. Kenny Pickett gets the ball out quick, pretty accurate, pretty decisive. Just limitations physically and as a passer, but I think it is a good fit. I think Steelers are going to try and play a lot of defense and run the football and control the clock. The one person that didn't leave, which is the most important, is Mike Tomlin. Fantastic coach, one of the best in the league. So the Steelers are a good team. Again, if this is next year, I think this is a very different matchup.
Not even. I don't believe that.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah. So I think Kenny Pickett's gonna take a bit of time, but I don't see the Steelers, having much say. It's not going to be a blowout, but I think it's going to be one of those games that the score doesn't really tell the true story. I think this is going to be kind of Eagles all the way.
Yeah. I will forego my Texans pick just to say one more thing in regards to Kenny Pickett. The reason why I disagree with you saying if this was next year is because I think we have to remember that Kenny Pickett was at Pittsburgh, I believe, 5 years and had not even thrown for more than 3,100 yards. I don't even think he made it to 3,100 yards. And then last year, 4,400 yards. Like it. So to me, that's one or two things.
Winner, right?
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. One or two things. Something changed in the coaching staff, or you finally it clicked for you. So then you got to give him a 3-year window at least, right? And that's the last thing. I'll skip my next pick for the interest of time.
I mean, yeah, we don't really have to talk about
it's gonna be the Howie revenge game for not getting Deshaun Watson. That's all it is. So week 10, we
talked about Washington.
We talked about the Commies already. So
yeah,
Indy.
I think you want to talk about that game a little bit. I mean, it's the return of Frank. Well, it's not the return of. We're going to Indy, but Frank Reich versus his predecessor, Nick Sirianni. The Yoda versus Luke Skywalker. However you want to look at it. It's going to be a good game. Matty Ice has never been bad against Philly. They're going to show all this background story, how Matt Ryan grew up an Eagles fan, grew up in Philly, blah, 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 this, and third. He should have been an Eagle, this, and third, whatever. It's going to be a good game. I'm going to plead the fifth with this one as I did with the Cardinals. I'm not going to choose a winner in this one.
Really?
Yeah.
You cheater.
Because it's more than that, man. It's Rodney McLeod returning. It's, I don't want to give it away yet. Not until we get a CV2.
Oh my gosh. So I wanted to look at this. This is where I'm sorry, Morgan. Did I cut you off?
Oh, no worries. No, go ahead.
This is where I think that we're gonna see how much the Kobe Dean is gonna help your defense. Because Indy's coming to run the ball. And I quite frankly believe if you stop the run, Matt Ryan to take care of himself. Not that I'm no disrespect.
Jordan Davis, baby.
Like, well, that's another one too, right? You stick Jordan Davis there in the middle. But you guys ran base 4-3 last year. So where are you playing Jordan Davis? Because you have to stop this running back.
We're playing him at safety. We're playing him at linebacker. We're playing him defensive tackle, cornerback. He might even be the defensive coordinator by the end of the season.
Morgan, what's his name?
The Colts running
back. The Colts running back.
Jonathan Taylor.
Thank you. Jonathan Taylor is showing up. And he's showing up behind two really good NFL guards and a center that only got to chip somebody and get to the next level. So if I was you, I would get out of base 4-3. I'd go 3-4. I'd probably go 3-4 odd too, just to make sure that the linebackers are a little closer.
That's the rumor, though. That's actually the rumor scheme for the Eagles. But again, Jordan Davis will be playing safety in that game. He'll be coming down to the line of scrimmage to help out Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave.
I would take the Colts here. I'll take the Colts here by a field goal. I honestly think it would come down to a field goal if you can't stop that run. And dealing with a rookie nose, if you run 3-4, or Jordan Davis is a little less himself as a tackle. I watch enough Georgia football to promise you that. And then the Kobe Deans behind him. These are two rookies trying to stop a well-established NFL run game. 3 points. I'm talking last-minute field goal, probably Indy.
Yeah. I think this is gonna be a close game as well. the Colts just kind of seem like they're one of those teams that has like a Wes Welker at every position. Like they just work. They do their job and they do it well. Outside of maybe Jonathan Taylor, who's obviously a star, but I don't, and Quentin Nelson as well. Like there's some really good players on this team, but in general, the whole team just operates as a unit. And I think Frank Reich has a lot to do with that. I think that this is going to be a battle of the coaching staff. Like on paper, I think the Eagles have a higher ceiling. But I just think like the Colts come to play, man, and they're a smart team. They have Matt Ryan. I think he's going to bring a lot in terms of just not making mistakes, making teams earn it. I think it's going to be a tough place to travel to. I think Indy, always is one of those teams that a lot of teams overlook, and then they come to play. They're in a pretty tough matchup against the Tennessee Titans. Like I think that they're going to be in a place in Week 11 where they're starting to look at the Titans record and saying we got to win out. We got to win as much of these games as you can because it's going to be a battle with the Titans, and I think this is a game they understand the gravity of, and I think that this is one of those where Frank Reich, just having more experience, just out coaches Sirianni. But this is kind of the start of what Troy was kind of talking about earlier, where you start to see some tough matchups kind of snowballing a bit, and they travel to Green Bay the week they welcome Green Bay after. It doesn't matter what Christian Watson does, or how good he is. Like he's just going to be a star in Green Bay because Aaron Rodgers is going to will it to happen. So I think this is going to be a tough team to play as long as Aaron Rodgers is still wearing Packers green. So I think the Eagles aren't there yet.
Mm-mm.
But I think Green Bay sneaks this one out. They got a very trickly good defense as well. They're very sneaky. They don't really expect my whole point. I apologize. I'll stop there. I think
you don't have
Morgan did.
Morgan, I love
covered every side of the
Brian will tell you I could do this all night. My wife won't let me, but I can do this all night. Sure. And you literally stole the only point I was going to make. I honestly believe that the only reason Green Bay wins this game, and I would go as far as 5.5 points for Green Bay to win by, simply because I swear to you, nobody ever pays attention to what this Green Bay defense continues to do. Like, in my unpopular opinion, though, Aaron Rodgers lost in that playoff game, not the defense. Like, they made some terrible mistakes, but mistakes that you would think they could live with, given that Aaron Rodgers is on the other side of the ball for them, and he didn't do it the way we expect Aaron to do it. But that defense is everything. It is the reason why I believe that Green Bay will win this game. I'd give the Eagles. I'll give the Eagles 5.5 points, and I think Green Bay will still win.
So I'm not covering the Green Bay game because I think you guys covered every single inch of that field. Yeah. But I want to cover the Tennessee Titan game. I want to tell you a story. On draft night, this is the AJ Brown revenge game. This is the AJ Brown, obviously, the dude's gonna come out firing. Like, if AJ Brown has less than 100 receiving yards against the freaking Titans, Nick Sirianni's a terrible coach. Jalen Hurts is a terrible quarterback. You fire both of them after week 13. That's just point blank. The Titans do have the run game. I think at this point, I'm confident enough to say that Jonathan Gannon will get this defense together enough to where he knows how to use his pieces, unlike last year. Again, to kind of go to Troy's point earlier, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. I think those two in the run game are going to be very, very essential for Philly going down the stretch in the season. I know Fletcher Cox is still here, but Fletcher Cox is not, the Fletcher that he once was. Javon Hargrave, he kind of disappeared toward the end of the season last year, so he has, still has a little bit to prove, in my opinion. But plug and play. Like, get creative. Have Jordan Davis in the middle of that defensive line somehow, some way. Have Nakobe, in the middle of the defense as well. Just be creative. You have to stop the run the majority of the season. Definitely has happened against Tennessee, but I definitely think the Eagles pull this one off just because there's too much riding on AJ Brown not showing up in this game.
I think my only feedback to that is the rookie wall, Brian. That'd be my concern here.
From Malik Willis, he's not starting. He's not even getting mentored. What do you mean?
Wait. You was talking about Jordan Davis stopping the run in week 13. And
obviously not by himself, but being an increment part.
Like You understand what I'm saying? For the last 4, maybe 5 years, I think he was there for the last 4 years. By the time you get to what is week 13 in NFL, he's got 2 weeks off before he starts playing playoff games. This is nonstop football since week 7 for him right now. I wouldn't put my eggs in that basket. I'm sorry. I think Tennessee will eventually run a. They're gonna run your new rookies who we expect. All three of us, I think, can agree that especially those 2 rookies are gonna play a lot of minutes this season. By the time you get to week 13 and Derrick Henry in that offensive line, I think that's a little too much to ask. I wouldn't say it's gonna be a widespread game. This is gonna look a lot like the Cowboy game, and they're gonna.
It's definitely going to be competitive. I'm not saying that's going to be a blowout, but it definitely be competitive.
And yeah, this is going to be 17-14 probably. And it'll probably be Tennessee.
Yeah, the Titans are a weird team, man. Like I'd struggle to say, like, outside of Derrick Henry what makes them good. And I think that a lot of people are underrating how big of a loss AJ Brown is for this team. It's massive. Having a receiver that can.
Sorry to interrupt you, Morgan. I completely overlooked this, but it's in Philly. This isn't in Tennessee. This is in Philly.
Yeah, it's in Philly.
Running games and defense travel, Brian. That's not a good point.
Yeah.
Morgan, finish. Let Morgan finish. That was a bad point.
No, it's actually a legit point, and I'm pretty sure possibly Morgan might piggyback off this, but it's in Philly. 1, 2, Philly's a very hard place to play, and especially when they just got a player like AJ Brown, they're gonna ride for him. Just like, who can I use this for? In basketball, for James Harden against the Nets, even though I'm not a big fan of what James Harden said. It's just something like that. Like the city's gonna ride for you, and the city's gonna make it a ruckus for the defending team, for the opposing team. That's, to me, that's a huge advantage, especially if you're playing as a link.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of go in the middle of that and say that I think it's just a big deal they're not going to Tennessee. I don't know. Like, I think that, Derrick Henry is going to be Derrick Henry wherever he is. I don't see outside of Derrick Henry what this team has to offer. I like Treylon Burks. He's not going to be a wide receiver 1 at this point in his career. Like, I don't think so. He's kind of a gadget guy. He needs to work on his running. He's a really impressive athlete. And then Robert Woods, like, I don't wish any negative stuff on any player, but there's a good chance, like, he's not playing by week 13, just based on his track record. I've had him on my fantasy team before. There's a good chance that their wide receiver core looks like Treylon Burks and nobody else. Austin Hooper had.
There's a chance Henry's not playing by week 13 too. I mean, he's been.
I mean,
a little
that's
banged
fair.
up.
And then this defense was pretty awful for a lot of games, from what I can remember, and just kind of like pulled this one out, just willed this like, I don't, like, how are they the number 1 seed? I can't tell you. I could not tell you. But they play an old school version of football that just matches up well with what the Eagles cannot do. They cannot tackle big backs. They never have been able to, and they added a bunch of linebackers that are under 230 pounds. So the Titans are going to run Derrick Henry, and the Eagles are not going to be able to tackle him, and they're going to keep doing that all game. And unless Jalen Hurts can figure out a way to, be a superstar and throw for a bunch of yards and run, I just think that the Titans are just going to command this game. Like, they're just going to make it their brand of football. This is going to be a tough matchup. But most importantly, it's the week after Green Bay. And I just feel like the Eagles are going to be a bit exhausted, and then they have to tackle Derrick Henry all game. And that's going to be tough.
And it's not a bad point. You said one thing that I didn't think about, and that's the Robert Woods acquisition by Tennessee. I don't know why a Tennessee fan would be happy about that. Let's be real. Robert Woods is one of the more talented wide receivers that play in the National Football League, yet we've never really seen it. We're talking about a guy with 2 1,000-yard seasons, and how many years has he been in the league? 9, maybe 10 or whatever. 2 1,000-yard seasons.
In LA,
I don't
of all places.
Yeah, in LA, right, is where he did it. And he has never even had double-digit touchdowns, right? So Ryan Tannehill's not this good of a quarterback, guys. He's not. But you said it best, Morgan, and we'll move on to the next game right after this. And what I told Brian, defense and running the football travels. That's football at its base. You'll never change that about the game. If you can run the football and you can play defense, you can play anywhere, any time of the year.
That's
And
very true,
Mike,
but don't discount the fact that the Eagles were, historically running a really good running team last season. So they can really run it down anybody's throat as well.
How much of that was Hurts though?
No, I mean,
just a question.
Yeah, a lot
I'm
of
just
it was.
asking. I really don't.
A lot of it's
770 yards,
the offensive line. The offensive line's just.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like this offensive line can really get out there and just cut whoever they want. Like they're all extremely athletic, and that's
listen. I know your left tackle and your center are great. I think your left guard. I know who. I can't think of his name, but
Landon Dickerson.
Remember
that name.
The other two guys, I don't
forget
really
a name
know.
Like Dickerson.
Man.
Lane,
I don't
Lane
know
Johnson's the other right tackle, but he has health problems. Sometimes. The other thing we didn't mention about the Titans, Mike Vrabel is an excellent coach. He really is.
Yes, he is.
But for the sake of time, I think that we have to talk about the Giants because who knows what the absolute hell is going on in New York. They could be good. Who knows? They on paper
could
they
be
should
good. It could be bad. It could be all for the entire season.
And then they're cutting their best corner and from last season, and they're adding another speedster receiver that they didn't know how to deal with last week, and then all of a sudden Kenny Galladay's supposed to be good again. I just don't know what to think of the Giants, and I just think the Eagles are a team this year that beat those kind of teams. Like
the
you
Giants
can't not have an identity.
Project.
Yeah, you have to have an identity.
Yeah, they're a really big project that's not going to be fixed for at least 2 to 3 years. I'm not really expecting much out of these Giants games, but they're divisional games. They're, it's rivalry no matter what. Some stupid reason, these division games always come down to, the last possession or the last quarter. So freaking annoying. Daniel Jones breaking almost like a 70-yard run and falling on his face at the 5-yard line. Things like that happen in division games. I wouldn't count the Giants out completely. I would say that the Eagles definitely should win both matchups, especially the final week, unless we're in the playoffs and we rest our starters. But there's no reason on paper why Philadelphia should lose this game.
Don't
you?
I'll give you
it's
one.
No, in this sentence. What?
I'll give you one reason and one reason only why Philadelphia could possibly lose this game. Somebody forgot to gas the bus from the hotel to the stadium. That's all I got. Saquon, no Saquon. That team is in shambles. I don't. Gettleman did a crazy amount of yeoman's work just to make sure that they had actual pros on the field on Sunday. So why did we spend this much time talking? I mean, this is literally Alabama versus the local high school down the street over here. I can't. I don't know that the Giants win 5 games this year. They'll be picking top 5 again next year.
Yeah, agreed. Speaking of a team in shambles, they then go to play in Chicago.
A team that doesn't want their quarterback to be their quarterback.
Yeah. I don't know. David Montgomery's. Get him out of there. Really, he's a great running back. I feel bad for him. They'll give him his touches, and that'll be that. If the Eagles can stop David Montgomery, and then I don't even their defense. I feel bad that it's not better. It really if a Bears fan was talking to me and they'd be like, "Why isn't our defense good?" I couldn't quite tell them why they're so bad. They should be better, but they're just bad. So they're going to continue to be bad. They're going to be a bad team for probably a while. So I feel for Bears fans. Love the city of Chicago, the shitty of the Bears.
You said the shitty of Chicago?
Yes, he did.
My God.
It was a tongue slip, but hey, let's be honest. We're talking about the Bears.
The shitty of you just shitted on the whole city, bro. It's the shitty of Chicago. Wow.
Talking about the Bears.
Let's move on. Let's move on from
the border.
I didn't even get to talk about the Bears. He wants to
talk about the Bears.
Bro.
No, because I think I got an answer to Morgan's question about why the Bears defense is so bad.
Yeah. It's
and it's not
Chicago.
Something that I'm very proud of, considering the pride I have in my sports teams in Georgia being right under the Steelers there. I think that Roquan Smith is being asked to do too much that he just really can't do. This is a guy who you kind of want to be responsible from tackle to tackle, and instead, with that wide open defense and this overcommitment to edge rushing, he's got to play sideline to sideline. I don't think that's going to be his strength, especially after the injury. But yeah, we already know who's going to win this game, right? And nobody's going to say Chicago. So, all right.
We talked about Dallas already. We mentioned, they'll split it. Week 17, Troy's favorite freaking game, New Orleans, comes to Philly with franchise quarterback Jameis Winston, who just had LASIK eye surgery, who can now see the field, see it accurately. Before he got drafted, he couldn't see it accurately, but you can see these W's accurately.
Franchise QB.
Listen, I'm gonna say it like this: I don't care who they got back there. It's like that LeBron meme. You got Jameis Winston, Jameis Simpson, all that those rhyming names. It doesn't matter. The Philly's not losing to the Saints with Jameis Winston behind there. I get Jameis was good for the early stretch of last season. I get that, but no, I just can't see it. No.
All right, Morgan, do you mind if I jump in here and argue with my friend real quick, please?
Not at all.
All right.
Sell me on
I
Jameis
promise I'll leave
Winston.
you enough
I can
time.
leave if you need.
No. You stay right here because I'm going to turn it over to you without ever even picking the game.
Listen, I just took
because
my
I know
track
what
class
this
off,
is
bro.
about.
Make me stand up in here.
This is about Jameis Winston and Jameis Winston only. First of all, Brian, your Eagles are losing. That's what's going to happen, okay? Jameis Winston is going to show up.
Did we drug test him before he came on this podcast?
When this man got in the league in 2015, he threw 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns. Then he followed it up with another 4,000, slightly more, 90 yards, and 28
with Mike
touchdowns.
Evans and Chris Godwin.
And then he threw for 3,500 on 13 games with 19 touchdowns. And then he played 11 games, threw for 3,000 and 19 touchdowns. And then he threw for 5,109 yards, 33 touchdowns. And you're mad over 30 interceptions.
How many interceptions during this period did he throw?
And that's all you had is the fact of the matter is he has 91.
What you mean? He's not 91, Brett Favre out here.
Wait a minute. He has 91 interceptions and 135 TDs. And you actually just beat me to my next point because you, my friend, have no problem with Mr. Brett Favre. And Jameis has not, of course, he's not touching Brett Favre, but he hasn't even played long enough for you to even say that, this is so terrible in comparison to what Brett Favre did, bro. Leave the man alone. He got his eyes fixed. Let him go play football. You're actually going to lose this one. I'm going to tell you why you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it because you're going to come out of a division game knowing that you're going into a division game, and this is playoff stretch. So if you have not secured a playoff spot by now, they definitely will be fighting because there's nothing else in their division except Tampa to stop them. They're coming. They're coming no matter what your season looks like. They need this win in Week 17. You may be either reeling or too high off of Dallas the week before, knowing that you have the Giants to probably seal your feet. This is why you lose this game. Not even because my boy Jameis.
I'll make you a deal. All right, let's make a deal right here live on the pod.
All right,
Week 17. If Philly wins, you shave your head. If Philly loses, I'll shave my head.
No. You got to grow it out. You got to let everybody see the Bomani, whatever that you got going over here.
Philly's not losing this game. You got to look. Listen, I get you're sold on Jameis Winston. I don't know why, but one, you have Dennis Allen who's coaching him. If I'm gonna say that's the guy's name, the guy who got ran out of Oakland or Vegas, right? That's the guy who they chose as Sean Payton's predecessor.
I didn't even look, to be honest with you.
You have Michael Thomas. You have Michael Thomas who doesn't want to be there. Point blank, he doesn't want to be there. He said that last year. You have Chris Olave who could be a stud, but when you said all these numbers about Jameis Winston, did you forget Mike Evans? Did you forget the offense that he had in Tampa that he could not accomplish anything with? The same offense.
Then what are you saying about the New Orleans numbers?
Time out.
Which looked great for 7 games.
The offense that Tom Brady took to the Super Bowl. Like Jameis couldn't even get these guys in the playoffs and do anything. And you're telling me that he can actually come Week 17, one, still be healthy. 2, actually come out firing on all cylinders to beat a team that could possibly be in playoff contention at this point. I don't see it, especially in Philly. And New Orleans
what I'm saying.
New Orleans has lost to Philly back-to-back seasons. With Sean Payton, this is not happening with Dennis Allen.
If you don't stop
it's not happening
about Dennis Allen, I get it, but you're wrong. And the thing is, because you're going to look at this in the way that you choose to look at it, as well as I am choosing to look at it the way I'm looking at it. But what I'm telling you is that your reason is superficial. Mine is not.
Your quarterback's fingers are superficial. He thinks they're chicken bones. Anyways, week 18.
I think this has to be the deal. Is if the Eagles lose, you gotta shave the beard.
No, not unless you sacrifice a relative, blood.
Listen,
go.
Brian, you're trying to skip the week 18 without letting me say anything. So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be the voice of I can't even say reason, but honestly, I think Detroit makes a lot of great points about Winston. I think he's a better quarterback than a lot of people give him credit for. The Saints receiving core, if Michael Thomas comes back, is no joke. That 1-2 punch of Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, man, that's really hard to cover for DBs. They're both really great route runners. The Saints defense, first like the last 3 years in a row, the Saints defense has been like number one in something, and then they play the Eagles, and then that stops, that ends. And so I just think that this is one of those games where I'm agreeing with both of you. I think that like the Saints are going to be figuring out this year. I don't think they're going to be in contention for a playoff spot at this point. I think they're a better team than a lot of people think. I don't think it's a complete rebuild. I do think you can hold on to Jameis Winston. I do think he can be your quarterback. I just think it's a new system. How is that going to go? Hopefully you get Michael Thomas back. Hopefully Kamara is Kamara 2 years ago as opposed to last year he wasn't quite as good. And that was just because they had Taysom Hill at quarterback for whatever reason. Now he's going to be I don't know, kicker probably. But it's just I think the Saints have a lot of things to figure out, and I think they're in the right direction. But I think the Eagles are a different category. And then quickly, we didn't mention the Cowboys game. We're not skipping over it. We kind of talked about it for the sake of time. We just grouped the two Cowboys game. We all think they're going to split. How that split happens, we're not sure. I didn't realize that this is a
Christmas
short
Eve.
week from week 15 to week 16. I didn't realize that's a short week. So that sucks. So I thought maybe they could sneak one out in Dallas.
But it's an advantage that they have. They're facing as we all mentioned before, they're facing a Chicago Bears team that's just not good. Right. Like they're just not good. You muted yourself,
Morgan.
Who did the Cowboys play before that week? Do we know?
I can look it up.
Probably not, but anyways, yeah. So I agree with both of you on the Saints. I think that Jameis Winston isn't the quarterback that we saw early in his career. I really think he matured. You saw that last year. The film doesn't lie, man. He's a better quarterback last year than
Jaguars.
he ever was. Oh, okay. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, we're both coming up. Might be a lot.
Mini buy for both teams. All right, wait, hold on. So whoever's in the comments who believed that I was putting Jameis Winston on the same level as Favre, you clearly weren't listening to me. I was just saying, if you're going to just stare at touchdowns versus interceptions, then you always have to look at Favre, because the man once held the touchdown record and he still holds the interception record. That's all. That's right. That relation. One other thing I wanted to tell you, Morgan, and I didn't know this until just now. The Saints finished last season as the number 4 defense in the NFL. Yeah. I did not know that.
They were the number 1 run defense before the Philly game, and then Philly ran all over them.
And then the time before that, they didn't play them the year before, did they? But it was the year before that they were the number 1 defense as well. And then it just seems to be a thing that they can't.
This is 2 years in a row, because
it
was
2 years in a row.
Was supposed to be in that game, and then they benched him, and that was Jalen Hurts' first start where they ran all over the Saints. Year after, ran all over the Saints again.
So two years in a row where they've been the number 1 defense and came into Philly and got walked up. I don't know. Maybe that's just a Sean Payton thing. Maybe Sirianni had his number, but I think that's just going to happen again this year. And then the Giants, to finish it off, they're probably resting starters at this point.
Yeah, I get that. So it's a long off season. We're not going to give me and Morgan agree that we're not going to give our record prediction, but Troy is a guest. So Troy, the floor is yours. Did you let one rip, or is that your microphone?
No, I was using the mic. Yeah.
The floor is yours. What do you, looking at the schedule? Ideal. Off the top of your head, what is the record for Philly at the end of this season?
Actually, I'm a little shocked because I didn't know you were going to ask me this question, so I didn't bother count it. And as soon as I looked up at the schedule that we have showing to the viewers, I immediately thought at least 12 wins. which was kind of scary because I didn't think it was that high when we were going through it. But yeah, I could see 13-4, maybe 12-5. Yeah, like because there's some games that I honestly think that the Eagles will win. I honestly believe they will win against Minnesota. I believe they will win against Arizona. I believe that they will at least split with Washington. They're going to split with Dallas. I think we all agree they should sweep the Giants. They're going to mollywop Chicago. I don't think that they're necessarily out of the game in Green Bay. I don't see a lot of losses here. In all honesty, it's kind of strange because now when I go back to go and do my own coverage of this coming season, I'm going to have to realize that I got the Eagles a lot higher than I initially thought. Now that I've reviewed the actual schedule, because I always thought the Eagles would be a wild card team, at least if not still division from Dallas. But
I mean, that's what we do here on the podcast, right? We turn people into believers in the Eagles. Yeah, guys. I mean, an hour 20.
Yeah, we definitely give you guys a lot of content today. We're gonna, we have a couple things in the works for the next couple of weeks, so we'll definitely be back next week. But yeah, definitely stay tuned to the Twitter and Instagram. Morgan, like I mentioned, in all season so far, has been busting his butt with Instagram. And on the Twitter, we've been using it as kind of an announcement place where we're going to make our announcements for what's happening week after week. But yeah, thank you to Troy for joining us. We appreciate you coming on the show again.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Anytime. But yeah, I mean, until next week, I'm Brian Cameron. He's Morgan Burkett, and this is Flippin the Birds.
Birds.
Yes, sir.
Flip the bird.